So, good morning. Afternoon, actually. And welcome back to the MNC, where you're watching a bunch of fish freaking die. Well, there they go. That's more like it. Now, anyway, amongst the horde of dead fish, I'd like to say, hello, how's it going? Oh my god, there's so many dead fish everywhere.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs and a video about the weather. Are you in 100-degree weather right now? A lot of the United States is. Did you have freezing cold weather last winter? If that's the case, you probably thought about moving to a place with better or at least less extreme weather. Everyone likes different types of weather. I like cooler weather and can't stand it when it's 100 degrees or more. Actually, I can't stand it if it's in the 90s. Some people are the exact opposite. But a majority of people just like it someplace in the middle. They don't like it to freeze, and they don't like it sweltering hot. What most people consider a city with good weather is a city that doesn't have too many days, if any, that are below freezing, and not too many days above 90 degrees. Today's list is about just that. We're looking for metro areas in the United States that have the most moderate temperatures and a good amount of sunshine. We went to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's National Center for Environmental Information and found the 10 metro areas with the fewest freezing days, fewest days above 90 degrees, and how many days of sunshine they had. Since we're going off 3 different stats, the exact order might be a little off.
How did front yard business become illegal?
Place called the Mighty Oak. It's like any other cafe until you look behind it. Yeah, this is someone's house, and there are other businesses like this across the city. Be Fresh on Cypress Street, the Vernon Drive Grocery Market, Davy Flowers, all these businesses on Denman Street, and perhaps my favorite example, the Smoke and Convenience Store in Riley Park. What they all have in common is that they are literally on the front yard of someone's house. Well, these kind of businesses are illegal today. And I think we should change that. Oh, there you stand now, babe. I'm moving on. How does something like this even happen? Well, it starts here. Vancouver's West End in the early 1900s. Back then, this area was nicknamed Blue Blood Alley, a neighborhood of mansions for Vancouver's wealthiest residents. But then everything changed when when several streetcar lines were built throughout the neighborhood. More and more people began moving into the area. For many homeowners, this was an opportunity to start a business. And where? Well, often it was right on their front lawn. When you look at photographs from that time, it's truly incredible. You have tailors, grocery stores, candy shops, and even compressed gas, all setting up shop in front of people's houses. You'll find a similar story in older neighborhoods across North America. As more and more people started moving into an area, homeowners set up businesses inside or right in front of their houses. It reveals an opportunity.
You could go to Grainger.com to find what you need to get the job done. Grainger, supplies and solutions for every industry.
Hey, do you want to save money when you shop online? You should click right here and download Honey. No.
Let's go,
If there's one thing we have a lot in North America, it's single-family houses with empty, grass-covered front yards. We have vast neighborhoods upon neighborhoods upon neighborhoods of these houses, many of them next to busy roads connected to public transit. Well, there's a ton of hidden potential in these areas. A typical front yard in Vancouver takes up 20% of the property, while the backyard takes up 45% of the property. To me, that means there's a ton of room to build a structure in the front, in the back, or even above and below the house to support a business. You could start a bakery, a cannabis shop called The Bakery, or an Indian seafood restaurant called Bay Curry. The possibilities are endless. And I think there's a pretty compelling case for this. It's estimated that over 50% of businesses in Canada are based in the home, and for good reason. This is by far the most affordable and low-risk way of starting an enterprise. You can experiment with new ideas that might not be profitable right away, but ultimately go on to become highly successful companies. Okay, sorry, that was a weird example, but seriously, companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Spanx that changed the world in waistlines. These corporations didn't get their start in a fancy office. They started in a house. So by adding spaces for businesses and houses today, I think, in all seriousness, we could be kickstarting companies that shape the world tomorrow. But of course, today, you can't build a business in your front yard. You technically can't even set up a lemonade stand. So why is that? Why did we stop allowing front yard businesses? Well, as always, there's another side to this story. And that is the neighbor's side of the story. These front yard businesses could be a problem to people living nearby. If your neighbor starts selling compressed gas out of their house, yeah, you might be a bit upset. Some businesses were noisy or smelly, and there were concerns that this would reduce property values for neighboring houses. For many, this resulted in a very black and white mentality about homes and businesses. They had to be separated. In 1928, the city of Vancouver introduced the zoning bylaw. This divided the city into different areas based on what the land could be used for. There were industrial districts for factories and warehouses, commercial districts for businesses, apartment districts for apartments, and residential districts for houses. And there was a key criteria for those residential districts: a setback rule. A rule that required all buildings to be placed a minimum distance from the street, creating a front yard. From here on out, there would be no more front yard businesses. No grocery stores, no tailors, no compressed gas, no nothing. So why was this setback so important? Well, that's where things get a bit more complicated. The most often cited reason is public health. Many city policies at the time were created in response to poor conditions in crowded and polluted downtown areas.
I get it.
These setback rules were seen as necessary to make sure people had enough open space, air circulation, and sunlight. Another interesting reason: widening roads. Enforcing a setback rule meant that cities could widen streets in the future without pulling a houseman and knocking down old buildings. But to a certain extent, this was also about looks. For Harlan Bartholomew, the planner that created these rules, one of the key issues with front yard businesses was that they hurt the appearance of a good many resident streets. I think this is a very important part of the story. These rules were not just about public health and transportation, they were also
in a
about
few
protecting
minutes.
aesthetics, and the aesthetics of a certain class of people. At the time, lawns were a symbol of status and wealth. If you could afford to have an empty piece of land just sitting there, you were pretty well off. So requiring every house to have a lawn ensured that wealthy neighborhoods stayed wealthy. But eventually, those upper-class ideals became the broader ideals of North American society, being a huge influence over a boom in housing construction after the Second World War. Soon, having a house with a front lawn was no longer a luxury, it was a fixture of the middle class. Today, those ideals are ingrained into our neighborhoods across North America. Zoning ensures that businesses are separated from houses, and setback rules make sure that front yards remain front yards. But I can't help but feel like we threw out the baby with the bathwater. The old front yard businesses that still exist today are actually cherished. Many love that they're within walking distance of their houses, and that they're locally owned. Nobody complains that the cafe down the street is creating a huge disturbance, or blocking out the sun, or bringing down property values. No, these places are seen as important gathering spaces for the community. And recently, the tides appear to be changing. This year, the city of Vancouver voted to allow small grocery stores in residential neighborhoods. That's right, we legalized weed in 2018, and in 2021, we legalized convenience stores. But even without legalization, this is already happening to a certain extent. If you spend enough time in Metro Vancouver's suburban neighborhoods, you'll start to notice something. Shops and services in people's homes. In defiance of God and the zoning bylaw, they sell everything from pool tables and car batteries to pet supplies and bicycles. They offer services like styling your hair, doing your accounting, and tailoring your clothes. I think these businesses are a benefit to their neighborhoods, providing goods, services, and employment for a lot of people, and it's worth mentioning that many of them have become a staple of suburban force these businesses to fly under the radar, hidden away inside houses. And ultimately, it makes me wonder, if so many people are supposedly breaking the rules, are they wrong? Or is it the rules that are wrong?
I don't care where you go. Don't care how long you stay.
I think that's a good place to segue into an opportunity that Urbanarium has just launched. It's an ideas competition that anyone can enter called the Mixing Middle. They're basically asking entrants to think of how we can add a mix of uses into single-family neighborhoods. You know, if the pandemic has taught me anything, it's that the places we reside in can also be places of work, commerce, recreation,
I'm trying
and
to think
other
of how I
essentials
can
of
make
daily
these
life.
roads.
So how can we create spaces above, below, in front, or behind traditional houses to accommodate all of that? If you'd like to find out more about the competition and its prizes, check out themixingmiddle.ca. And if you're looking for some compressed gas, well, come find me.
Oh my god. Try to find out. So,
The American dream. It used to be a nice little house behind a white picket fence. What's yours?
tell me about Chris Vector. The sound you don't want to hear.
So you can all hear the terrible sound you never want to hear when working on turbine engines.
I have no idea what that is, but I like that. God darn it. I don't know why, but it feels like YouTube just kind of getting boring. I don't know why. Please. Dark side of the VSS,
Hello
Vince.
everyone, and welcome to my channel, where I discover the most interesting facts about weapons, dispel myths, and compare what we see on our screens with real-life examples. Ever wondered what it feels like to take down an enemy in complete silence? Today we're diving into the world of the VSS rifle, a weapon so deadly and stealthy, it's no wonder it's often referred to as the silent killer. Join us as we explore the history, power, and controversy surrounding this mysterious firearm. The VSS stands for Special Snipers Used in Their Documentation. Back in the late 1970s, Special Forces units had to make do with modified versions of. So in 1983, the KGB and GRU General Staff teamed up with the Central Research Institute of Precision Engineering to create a sniper rifle that could provide greater stealth and support for Special Forces. The technical requirements for the rifle were a bit tricky, but the VSS was eventually developed to meet them. The VSS was created with some pretty impressive goals in mind. Taking out bad guys from a distance of 400 meters without making a peep, blasting through steel army helmets at the same distance of 400 meters, using fancy pants optics during the day and super cool night vision scopes after dark, being light and compact for easy carrying and pretending to be a regular old civilian object, and being able to quickly break down into basic parts for transport and stealthy hiding. Now, here's a little background info. If a bullet breaks the sound barrier, it's going to make a loud bang no matter what. Even if you've got a device that can suppress up to 90% of the gunshot noise, the bullet itself is still faster than sound, so it'll create a crazy loud racket. When something moves faster than the speed of sound, it creates a sonic boom, and that noise you hear means the sound wave just passed you by. So it's almost impossible to silence a supersonic bullet. Plus, even when the bullet is still in the barrel, it breaks the sound barrier and continues traveling faster than sound, gradually slowing down. So despite the gunpowder igniting, the bullet will still make a lot of noise. You'll definitely take out your target before they hear the shot, but their buddies will hear the shot and come for you. In other words, the creators of the VSS had a few tasks to accomplish. They needed to reduce the bullet's speed and suppress the gas that propels it. The first version of the rifle, designated as RG-036 and therefore a second version was created in late 1981 with the same index but using the RG-037 cartridge and a more traditional gas system that passed through a side hole in the barrel wall with a rigidly locked bolt. This system reduced the sound pressure to the level of a regular pistol. Despite its compact size of only 815 millimeters and weighing 1.8 kilograms, the rifle could kill a person behind a 1.6 millimeter steel sheet. The new rifle passed the test, but in 1985, new requirements were established, namely the ability to penetrate body armor at a range of 400 meters. Requirement.
Yeah.
So they abandoned it and completely redesigned the sniper rifle to use the newly developed 9x39mm cartridge, which has a larger weight and caliber, allowing it to satisfy the customer's requirements. In 1987, the current version of the VSS was put into service with the KGB and GRU and later served as the basis for the development of the AS-Val rifle. So here's the deal with the VSS suppressor. When a bullet travels through the barrel, the gunpowder gases escape through little holes in the walls and into the expansion chamber of the suppressor. But here's the cool part. Because the gases enter the chamber sequentially, their temperature drops, which reduces the volume and output pressure of the sound. Basically, it turns one loud bang into a bunch of little more manageable pops. And when those leftover sound waves bounce around inside the suppressor, they cancel each other out, leaving you with a much quieter shot. The VSS August of 1990 during a prison riot in Georgia. Special Forces units from the KGB and the internal troops of the MVD used it to take back the prison, and it was also used during the siege in Moscow in 1993. Let me give you the lowdown on the VSS sniper rifle and how it stacks up against your average sniper rifle. So in general, the VSS is a pretty unique piece of weaponry. It's compact, lightweight, and can shoot subsonic bullets without breaking the sound barrier, thanks to its built-in suppressor. This makes it perfect for sneaky sniper missions where you want to remain undetected. But how does it compare in terms of power and effectiveness? Well, it's important to note that the VSS fires a 9x39mm bullet, which is wider and heavier than your typical sniper rifle. This means it can pack a punch and take out enemies with a single shot. But in terms of raw power, VSS is not the scariest rifle out there, as its muzzle energy is only around 700 joules, which is roughly 2 times more powerful than a Glock. That is not too impressive compared to the most of rifles that can usually have more than 3,000 joules of muzzle energy. However, another downside to the VSS is that it has a shorter effective range compared to traditional sniper rifles. It's optimal for distances up to 400 meters, whereas your average sniper rifle can hit targets up to 1,000 meters away. Another thing to consider is that the VSS isn't the most accurate rifle out there. It's not designed for long-range precision shots, but rather for quick and silent takedowns at closer ranges. Additionally, it's worth noting that a faster bullet speed can make it easier to shoot
4,
accurately
2, 2,
because
1,
it travels
2.
in a more straight trajectory. With slower bullets like those used in the VSS, the bullet drop and windage becomes more significant factors that can affect the accuracy of the shot. Skilled shooters can compensate for these factors, but it requires more practice and experience compared to shooting with a faster bullet speed. So to sum it up, the VSS is a specialized weapon with its own set of pros and cons. If you're going for stealth and power at close to medium range, it's definitely a solid choice. But if you need to take out targets from a distance, you might want to opt for a more traditional sniper rifle. But let's see how realistically the Ventores is portrayed in video games. The VSS gained most of its popularity from Call of Duty and PUBG. However, despite being a cool rifle in real-life situations, many PUBG players don't like it very much because of the slow projectile speed, low damage, and short range. This isn't surprising, considering that the bullet speed of the Ventores is only 330 meters per second, which is slower than even a revolver. But this is actually quite realistic because the rifle uses subsonic ammo, which works perfectly with a built-in suppressor that almost completely eliminates the sound of shooting. As for the damage in the game, the VSS is surprisingly weak and not capable of one-shotting. Additionally, in PUBG, if the enemy has a larger caliber weapon, you'll most likely lose in a sniper shootout because their bullets will reach you before yours and knock your arm off. This is also quite realistic considering that VSS bullets have a pretty slow speed compared to most sniper rifles. But experienced players know the true power of the Ventures. Due to its suppressor, scope and subsonic bullets, it can shoot without breaking the sound barrier, making it almost impossible to detect the shooter at a distance greater than 150 meters. Moreover, it has an extended magazine that holds 20 rounds and 2 firing modes, single and automatic. So even if you encounter someone at close or medium range, you still have a chance to outshoot them. So despite some controversy among players in PUBG, the VSS is a sniper's dream come true. If you're a sneaky strategist or just love sniping from a distance, the VSS is your go-to gun. And if you're playing with a squad, you can hang back and support your team from 100 to 200 meters away. Now, if you're a fan of games like PUBG, you might be wondering why you've never seen the VSS's full potential in action. That's because in its original form, this rifle could silently take out targets from up to 400 meters away and even penetrate a helmet. If that was allowed in games, it would be way too overpowered. So to keep things fair, game developers have had to tone down the VSS's capabilities. I hope you found that as fascinating as I did. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next video.
Let's see, it's 2.